Good to meet everyone. My name is Chris Horton. My email address it should be in my background here of my video. If it's backwards, I apologize. Zoom sometimes is a little bit too confusing for me to navigate, but I think we should be good. I'm going to go ahead and get my screen. Awesome. This is exciting. So we wanted to talk a little bit today about some of the Burger King hiring secrets that some of their franchisees use to simplify the hiring process for their hiring managers. There are a lot of tools that they've incorporated to simplify a lot of this as far as those franchisee groups. And the one that we wanted to highlight in particular is their the ability to automatically and easily schedule applicants for interviews. Talking with a franchisee this morning, actually, kind of just brushing up on some of the facts that we covered. The biggest thing is not only do they need more applicants and more, candidates to be able to go through this process, but the biggest part that they want to focus on in their franchisee group, especially, is the quality of applicants that they're seeing. And so we ran a few numbers talking about the amount of time and money that it costs this group to train one new hire. Was on average, they do a 2-week training, and even just at minimum wage, running the math, that came out to be about $1,200 to $2,000 just to hire and train one person. Now, if they don't, if that new hire quits or leaves for whatever reason in the first few months, usually if it's within the first 6 months, then that's a huge dent in their costs, their labor costs. So it's super, super expensive to onboard, hire, train these new hires. And so if we can start in the beginning phases of hiring by making sure that we have the highest quality applicants, by screening them effectively, making your job a lot easier, then that's going to be the step number one to making your job, your life, your costs better. First of all would be finding better quality applicants. But then we also looked at the numbers of how much you would pay a hiring manager, or a hiring manager costs. If you have a GM that is running interviews, scheduling interviews, reminding applicants about those interviews, then you're paying, and we can just throw out a number, $20 or $30 per hour for an applicant, for a general manager or a manager of some sort to run this hiring process, when there are lots of other tools out there that can do that automatically for them for much, much, much less than $20 or $30 per hour. So we're going to cover that in a lot more detail. Again, my name is Chris. My email should be on my video here, but I'll share that at the very end if you ever need to reach out. I believe at the end of this, we have email, phone number, all of that. Yeah, here on this last slide. So this is the phone number. This is an email address that you can reach me directly if you have questions after this webinar, after this presentation. But I do want to keep it like fairly engaging. I don't want to just talk and talk and talk. So we are going to cover some things, and we're going to do a question and answer as we go along. So as we do that, feel free to pull up that Q&A box and type in any sort of question, and I'll kind of field them as we go along. But again, I really want to hear questions as far as the things that we talk about, so that I can go back into the tools and then show you how it all kind of comes together. So the first thing I wanted to touch on was how Burger King recruits. Workstream is a tool that these franchisees use to source applicants from dozens of different places. Now, when I say that, a lot of times the initial thought is like, oh, it's going to be different job boards. It's going to be lots of, it's just spraying it out there. But what we focus on is giving a very, giving you lots of different streams of applicants and doing it in a way that these applicants appreciate, which usually is via text. So what Workstream does is as you create a position, it allows you to choose where you want to post, yes, on like job boards and social media, but then also you can generate job posters that can be put up at every location. And I can go into more detail about that, what those look like. But the first step usually is when these franchisees or these groups go in and create a new position, or they duplicate a position that they've already created for maybe a new location, or even if it's a new franchisee that wants to copy a different group's process, they'll choose which of these free integrated job boards they want to post their jobs onto. First question would be that I just got is, what are the top boards that they use to get candidates? A lot of those, this isn't in order, but it kind of is. Indeed gets great traffic. That's kind of like the number one that we always recommend people toggle on when they're using their Workstream account. It's surprising though, Facebook Jobs is almost always number two as far as the applicant flow. So Facebook Jobs hasn't always been big, and it's definitely a growing way to find applicants. But second or third would be Google Jobs, which is great. But there is about a dozen of them, and we suggest just posting onto all of them, because with Workstream, you don't have to go into those individual job boards, create accounts, post on those accounts, things like that. But what you can do is click once and have that automatically pushed onto those job boards. And whenever an applicant comes through, no matter if it's on a job board or on one of those job posters that I mentioned and that I'll show here soon, no matter where they come through, they're all going to be shown as Workstream applicants, and you can manage the process for all of your applicants in one place. So very easy to manage and work with on that side. I brought up the job posters. We use text to apply and QR codes to really drive a lot of applicant flow, because you have customers that love your brand, love your location, love your staff, and maybe want to make be a part of that. And so we have these job posters like what you can see right here. And this is an example, so it's just kind of giving you an idea of what that might look like. We can change this to say chicken, or Burger King, or King Jobs, whatever it might be. But as they text, as a happy customer or a friend or a family member texts this number, then they get an automatic response with a link to all of the jobs that you have available at that location. Another is this QR code. So basically just takes them straight on their phone. And now iPhone and Android both have QR code readers built straight into their cameras. So this is hanging up at your drive-through. This is hanging up, by the cash register, and allows them, as soon as they walk in or on the door, to scan that or text in and very, very easily see what open positions you have there. Let's see. Let me actually, for you all, let me go ahead and post a link in the chat so that you all can apply as if you were applicants for my demo position. So I'm going to copy this link here and post it. Feel free to apply for that position as if you were an actual applicant. If I can find exactly where to do that. Let's see. You'll probably just have to copy and paste this. Man, Zoom kills me sometimes. Here we go. We'll have you copy and paste the link that I'm going to post so that you can apply and see what it's like as a candidate. But that covers some of the job boards, some of the kind of how we work with the job posters. We also integrate with social media, and we have referral codes. So you can blast this out to current employees, and they can pass along the open positions link to their friends and family. It's all trackable, just in case you offer some sort of incentive for your current employees to send that link along and have their friends and family apply. Another cool thing that I actually have been thinking and working with clients a lot more lately on is their careers page. I worked at this company a little bit earlier this morning, Chicken Shack. And so this is kind of fresh on my brain, but they have a careers page set up through Workstream where if someone comes on to their website, which a lot of people do when they're searching for jobs now, is they'll just go to a brand's website and they'll click careers, and sometimes it's a big button at the top that says apply online. Sometimes it's a button on the bottom, like this case, that says careers. But basically, as soon as I click on that, I'm able to see all of the open positions, and it's actually sorted by the geographical location. So it's based on my location. There's a location closest to me. It's going to show the open positions that they have on that one specifically. So it's all customized, all really nice, good looking. There's a question and answer just in case you want a little bit of upfront information for these candidates. Cool. So that is kind of the main sourcing methods. Okay, we've got a question here. The question is, do Facebook jobs give applicants the ability to apply on a mobile device? Yes. So when you post on Facebook jobs, it shows up on the Facebook app or the Facebook website, depending on if the applicant is on their phone or if they're on their desktop. But yes, it allows them to apply on their mobile device. As soon as they do apply, then Workstream actually engages that applicant with a text message, maybe asking them more questions or having them fill out some sort of survey or questionnaire so that we can further screen that applicant. And that's something that I'll dive into a little bit deeper here. Someone said, love the careers page. I agree. I think it's going to be something that's super important for every single brand to have. Nowadays, we come across brands that still have like PDFs that candidates need to print out and take into their nearest location. Some even have websites that say, just find your nearest location and go in and apply. But nowadays you need to have a careers page. You can put the careers page on your social media sites, on your website, obviously, but it is very, very important to have nowadays. So jumping back into kind of the next thing that I wanted to share with you all. Let me go ahead and just share the screen here. Oh, where did it go? Okay. Pulling this back up. Okay, so texting applicants. This is something that I kind of touched on right before we jump back into that. Basically, as soon as any applicant applies, the Workstream system texts that applicant immediately and engages them. And that could be with a text that says, hey, our hiring manager is reviewing your application. Please, look forward to a call or a text from someone on our team. It could be a text that says, hey, we have a few more quick questions. And again, this goes back into further screening those applicants. That franchisee that I talked to this morning, they like to do 7 or 8 interviews before hiring one person. And I know that's a lot of work, but that goes back into wanting to make the right hire. And so being able to have a system that automatically further questions or screens that applicant is huge. So texting applicants is is very important, especially because as an applicant, um, if I'm looking for a job, I'm probably going to be applying at several different places. It might not just be your one Burger King location, but it might be Burger King, Subway, Chick-fil-A, and the 5 others that are in my neighborhood. But if you have a system like Burger King does, where it can automatically text an applicant saying, we've got your application, we're looking at it, we just have a few more questions, or we want to schedule an interview, or whatever it might be, doing it automatically for you, then it satisfies that instant gratification of the candidate, not waiting hours or days or even weeks for a hiring manager to reach back out and spend their time setting up the interview or whatever it might be. So what happens now is an applicant applies, and then our system automatically reaches out and says, we have a few more questions for you and that we would love to ask. And once they fill out that second piece of the process, then that Burger King manager goes in and reviews the candidate's profile, and if it looks good, they invite them to go on and do an on-site interview. And just so you know, this is Burger King's process. This is just that franchisee group's process. All of these stages are customizable and can be adjusted however you want. So if you wanted to take out the additional information questionnaire, that's definitely a possibility. So we had a quick question here. And when texting applicants, does the hiring manager's personal cell phone number show up? Great question. It does not. So when using Workstream, it's sent all from a Workstream phone number. We also have a mobile app. So if that hiring manager needed to specifically reach out to the applicant and ask them a question, kind of just a one-off text that isn't automated, it's all going to come from a Workstream number, so that applicant isn't calling your general manager on their personal phone at 11 p.m. the next night. So it all does come from a Workstream phone number. Next question we got was, any recommendation that have actual sample written electronic ads to get some ideas of successful ways of reaching Gen Z hourly team members more creatively than the same old tired ones that typically see on Indeed or Craigslist? Great question. I think that goes back to the careers page. So for example, my example was Chicken Shack having a careers page on their website, because, and I'm in my mid 20s, I was 15, 16, 17 years old, 10 years ago. And when thinking about getting my first job, I mean, I worked at a place called Arctic Circle, which is a local brand here, but I flipped burgers, I made milkshakes. And when thinking about applying for those positions, my first thought wasn't even necessarily to Indeed or Craigslist. Before, until 2 years ago, I didn't even know Indeed existed. And so my first thought was go on their social media sites or go on their website and look for links or careers pages, whatever it might be. And so using these careers pages that are customizable per location, that show only the open positions that are for that location, are super important. And then having, if you have some sort of social media manager, social media liaison that can put this or make posts about it on their site, even if you're, your Gen Z candidates or team member, those people that you would like to reach out to, maybe if they don't follow you, they're still probably going to go to your social media or your website as a first thought as far as applying. So great question, John. It's all about having your open positions posted everywhere. So Craigslist and Indeed are great, but having a job board up, a job poster up in the door of your restaurant that has a QR code that it, especially someone that's in that Gen Z range, can go up and text, Burger King to 31063, then that's huge, because they love texting. They don't want to go and search for your job listing on Indeed. So that's a great question. Next was if you can personalize the screening questions that you need. No, that's a really, really good question. And 100% you can customize all questions, all stages, whatever you need. So some really like to get into the nitty gritty of like, where did you go to college? What's your highest level of education? What's your favorite hobby? what hours, weekday, what hours, days, holidays, all that can you work? Those are all questions that you can add, take away, delete. Workstream has lots of templates for lots of different brands, but you can adjust and change those templates as much as you want so that your applicants are getting questions that are relevant for your location and your brand and the position even that you're trying to hire for. So hopping back into this, texting applicants is super important. We talked a bit about screening questions. You're able to customize and ask as many or as few as you need to. But the biggest thing that I wanted to touch on for this webinar was scheduling interviews quickly. Going back to, if you're going to pay a general manager $20 or $30 an hour and have them be the ones to individually reach out to these candidates and schedule interviews, even if it's a hiring, if you have a hiring manager that works in a corporate office that reaches out, you're still paying them, $20, $30, $40 an hour to do that, where you could pay a system like Workstream $100, $200 a month to do it for you. So basically what happens as an applicant goes through, answers screening questions, and is able to go through and finish kind of that those initial stages, then if a hiring manager wants to, clicks one button and invites that applicant to do an interview with them based on what that hiring manager's schedule is inside of Workstream. So typically what we do is we have hiring managers, general managers, district managers go in and sync their Google or their Outlook calendars to Workstream, and then add some time blocks for times that week or every week they can do interviews. It's super customizable, so I could schedule, one-offs or every recurring week. I can also customize which locations and which positions can hire for my calendar. And basically what happens is when a candidate has the opportunity to schedule that interview, they just get to choose from one of these open times that manager has created. Rather than me calling as a general manager or whatever it is, calling and saying, hey, Chris, I've got Tuesday morning, Thursday afternoon, or Saturday at noon available. Which works for you? Going back and forth, wasting all that time. I click a button, a link is sent to that candidate via email and text. They choose the time, it's confirmed. And then the most beautiful part is that they get reminders and confirmation messages about that interview so that they're not no-showing you as well. Going down to the question and answer. Let's see. Do you have texting templates? What is a typical process to reach out by text? Can you show us some examples? Of course. So I'll go into some of my candidates here, my demo candidates. For example, Kelsey applied. Our system automatically sent her a message that said, sorry, my computer's being pretty slow. Sent a message to Kelsey that said we had a few more questions. Please click on the link below. So this is a pretty templatized text. What we usually will do when we onboard someone with Workstream is we'll go in and have a hiring manager come up with a template that's a little bit more personal, because that pushes that candidate to not only go through the screening stages quicker because they believe that someone else is actually on the other side and it's not just a computer, but then also if a manager comes here and creates a template, uses their own voice, makes that pretty personal, then it's not me no-showing a robot, it's me no-showing Chris, me no-showing Kelsey. I'm not going to no-show someone that has put their name in this, even though to me it seems like it's a personal message. It's really a template sent out by Workstream, but it has that hiring manager's name, and I'm much less likely to no-show that hiring manager because I don't want to no-show John. I don't want to no-show Chris. I want to show up because he sent me this text reminding me about it. A great question. So it's all customizable, although we do use templates and we can use those. Where I usually suggest personalizing them at least a little bit. Sorry, going back, maybe I didn't answer this question or read this question exactly how John meant it. But he said, but the question was examples of actual ad copy that is effective in reaching out to typical Gen Z applicants in the language and style that they respond to. Actual sample ads and proven ones. Thanks so much. Yeah, John, I can actually potentially reach out to you via email after this with some actual examples. We're running a little bit short on time. We've got 2 minutes before the 30-minute mark on this. So I think that may be the best way to go about that. And I can kind of keep running through just the last few things that we wanted to touch on for the webinar at least. But just so everybody knows, we can kind of reach out, do personalized demos, and show you kind of some exact examples of what our clients, what these Burger King locations specifically are doing. So to wrap this up, Zoom interviews, depending on where you're at geographically, you could be wanting to push this more and more as fall is coming, as winter is coming, and as coronavirus is maybe ramping up a little bit more again. But basically what Workstream will just allow you to do at that point is to, once a candidate schedules, rather than it being an on-site interview, our system would automatically just text that applicant and say, you know, again, this will be a Zoom or this will be a phone call interview. This is the link to log on at the time that you've scheduled, and all of that is done automatically rather than it just being an on-site interview and sending over the address for that on-site interview. So that's kind of the last thing that I wanted to touch on, that it is a very integrated process where the applicant will get the text and the email with your Zoom link or whatever it is that you're using to run that interview. Maybe it's a phone number that they need to call into if it's a phone interview, or even just letting them know that you'll be calling from X number so that they can expect that number to be calling when at the time that they've scheduled. So that really was kind of the last thing that I wanted to touch on for this part, really being heavy on these 3 things as far as like screening applicants. Having a better screening process is everything in increasing, or I guess decreasing, the turnover that you have, saving money by not having to train employees, train new hires every 3 months, when it could be every year if you screen that applicant properly and had the right tools to do so. And then scheduling quickly and not having to pay Chris $30 an hour to reach out to every single applicant and schedule an interview. Rather, you have an automated system that does it for you and is much, much cheaper per month. So that is the webinar. Again, we've kind of gone through these questions and answers. We went through a little bit of a product demo. Again, I wanted to kind of touch on this demo piece though. I can do personalized demos for anybody, for your brand, for your specific franchise group, whatever it is, to show you exactly what all of this would look like for you specifically. And if that's something that you're interested in, please email me at Chris, CHRIS, at workstream.is. So workstream.is, not .com or .net, it's .is. But really glad that we could do this. I am excited to work with others to help streamline their process, because I've worked at restaurants, I've managed restaurants, and now I help restaurants make that whole process that I did for 10 years much, much easier. So feel free to reach out with me or to me with any questions, and we can go from that point. I'll launch this little poll on if you're interested in scheduling a Workstream demo, and I'll leave that up for you all. If you're interested in scheduling a demo, then go ahead and click yes on there, and I'll leave that up for the next few minutes, and we'll go from that point. Thanks everyone for tuning in.